Kevin Stefanski should be fired. This here is another fireable offense. We have Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, who has officially benched starting guard Wyatt Teller for being honest about Shedeur Sanders not receiving reps from the Cleveland Browns.
Are you freaking kidding me? The guy has played hurt and been elite. The guy has busted his ass. The guy has been one of the good guys in that locker room. And by the way, the $230 million quarterback that you traded for that embarrassed the franchise with all the crap that you brought, that guy couldn't be bothered to be a part of the damn community. Wyatt Teller came in day one and was a part of the community.
Wyatt Teller was honest about it. He was loud with his support for Shedeur Sanders, and he's now being punished for it by Kevin Stefanski.
The Cleveland Browns are spiraling. This isn't about another disappointing season. This is about organizational rot. This is about a head coach who might be punishing loyalty and honesty. This is about Wyatt Teller, one of the best offensive linemen on this roster, getting benched for speaking his mind. Wyatt Teller didn't commit some heinous crime. He didn't trash the coaching staff publicly. He didn't demand a trade or refuse to play. Wyatt Teller voiced support for rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, pointing out that the kid wasn't getting enough reps in practice. That's it. That's the offense. And for that, for showing honesty and leadership, Kevin Stefanski allegedly rotated him in and out of the lineup against the San Francisco 49ers like he was some practice squad experiment, then benched him entirely for the Tennessee Titans game.
Who said he had a calf injury?
The Browns said he hurt his calf. Kevin Stefanski said he hurt his calf.
Yeah.
Said he hurt his calf in the fourth. But he said it was a performance issue. Something ain't right.
The official story? Calf injury. The reality? Nobody's buying it. Not the fans, not the media, and certainly not Wyatt Teller's family, who've taken to Twitter to subtly but clearly express their frustration with how this entire situation has been handled. When your wife and mother are cryptically tweeting their displeasure, you know something stinks worse than week-old fish. Here's where this gets really interesting and really messy. During that 49ers game, where Teller was supposedly being rotated due to performance issues or this mysterious calf problem, he graded out as the highest performing offensive lineman on the entire Browns roster according to Pro Football Focus. Read that again. The highest graded offensive lineman. Not mediocre, not struggling, the best player on that line. And Stefanski's response? Bench him the next week. Make it make sense. You want to talk about disrespect? You want to talk about organizational dysfunction? This is Exhibit A. This is a franchise that has cycled through 42 starting quarterbacks since 1999. A franchise that traded away Baker Mayfield and handed $230 million guaranteed dollars to Deshaun Watson. A franchise that continues to make bewildering decisions year after year. But this might be the most petty, most vindictive move yet. Let's connect the dots here, because the timeline is crucial. Wyatt Teller speaks positively about Shedeur Sanders, mentioning that the rookie isn't getting the practice reps he needs to develop. This isn't some wild conspiracy theory. Multiple sources have confirmed Teller was vocal about his support for Sanders. Then suddenly, inexplicably, Teller finds himself rotating in and out during a crucial divisional game. Then he's listed as out with a calf injury that nobody saw happen, that nobody can confirm, and that he himself seems confused about. The speculation isn't coming from basement-dwelling keyboard warriors. Respected Cleveland media personalities are openly questioning this decision. Former NFL offensive linemen are scratching their heads. Even neutral observers are looking at this situation and seeing something that doesn't add up. When you have multiple people independently arriving at the same conclusion, maybe, just maybe, there's fire behind all that smoke.
So whatever the case was with Wyatt, apparently they felt they needed to see something else there. At this point right now, I think when he gets back from the calf injury, he's going to have to show some things, and maybe he will. Maybe he'll do whatever he needs to do, or maybe he comes back next year in a different capacity or something. I'm not exactly sure.
This quote right here encapsulates everything wrong with how the Browns are handling this. He's going to have to show some things. Show what exactly? Show more than being your highest graded offensive lineman? Show more than 7 years of elite guard play? Show more than bleeding brown and orange and being a cornerstone of your community? What more does Wyatt Teller need to prove to this organization? And let's talk about the audition excuse, because that's even more insulting. The Browns are supposedly auditioning Kevin Zeitler and other options because they need to rebuild the offensive line for next year. Fine, rebuilding is part of football. But you don't audition during a season when you're trying to evaluate a rookie quarterback. You don't create instability on the offensive line when you're starting Shedeur Sanders and claiming you want to see what he can do. Those two things are fundamentally incompatible. If Cleveland truly wants to assess Sanders' potential, if they genuinely want to give him the best chance to succeed, you surround him with your best players. You give him stability. You give him protection. You don't rotate guards like you're running a basketball substitution pattern. You don't bench your best offensive lineman for Kevin Zeitler, who has 5 years of NFL tape that teams can evaluate without needing a single live snap. Here's the darker implication that some analysts are brave enough to say out loud. If the Browns were truly committed to Shedeur Sanders, if they actually believed he was their franchise quarterback,
would they be playing musical chairs with their offensive line? Would they be creating unnecessary chaos and instability? Or does this suggest something more sinister? Does this suggest that Stefanski and the front office don't really believe in Sanders and are setting him up for failure?
If they're willing to play musical chairs with their offensive line, what do they really think of the quarterback playing behind him? If they took Shedeur Sanders number 2 overall, if he was the number 2 overall pick, would they be messing around with their offensive line?
That's the million-dollar question right there. If Sanders was a top 5 pick, if he was the undisputed future of this franchise, would we be seeing these decisions? Probably not.
This reeks of a coaching staff hedging their bets, keeping their options open, and perhaps even self-sabotaging to justify their preferred choice at quarterback down the line. The conspiracy theorists are having a field day, and honestly, can you blame them? When you look at the pattern of behavior, when you see a head coach potentially punishing a player for supporting the rookie quarterback, when you see organizational decisions that make zero football sense, people are going to fill in the blanks. And the picture they're painting isn't pretty. Wyatt Teller isn't some journeyman player. He's not a replacement-level talent you can swap out without consequence. This is a man who has given everything to Cleveland. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's been a community leader. He's played through injuries. He's represented this franchise with class and dignity. And this is how they repay him. In a contract year, no less. When he's 30 years old and about to hit free agency. The timing couldn't be more insulting. Teller is heading into the most important offseason of his career, where his next contract will likely be his last significant payday. And instead of showcasing his talents, instead of letting him prove his worth to potential suitors, the Browns are benching him for nebulous performance issues that nobody can actually identify. If Teller's play was the problem, why did he grade out so well? If injury is the concern, why was he rotating instead of sitting? Nothing adds up.
I don't understand why we're auditioning Tevin Jenkins. There's 5 years of NFL tape on Tevin Jenkins.
Exactly. This isn't some undrafted rookie who needs game experience to evaluate. This isn't a developmental project. Kevin Zeitler is a known commodity. Teams know exactly what he can and cannot do. The audition excuse falls apart under the slightest scrutiny, which means there's another reason for this move, and that reason appears to be punitive. The broader implications extend beyond just Teller and Sanders. What message does this send to the locker room? What does it tell players about speaking up, about showing leadership, about being honest? It sends a clear message: keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, don't rock the boat. That's not how you build a winning culture. That's how you create a toxic environment where players are afraid to lead, afraid to speak truth, afraid to advocate for their teammates. Championship organizations don't operate this way. Teams with strong cultures don't punish loyalty and honesty. Look at the Chiefs, the Eagles, the 49ers. Those teams embrace player leadership. They encourage veterans to speak up. They create environments where honesty is valued, not punished. Cleveland is doing the exact opposite and wondering why they keep cycling through regimes, keep missing playoffs, keep disappointing their long-suffering fan base. Let's also address the elephant in the room, the Deshaun Watson comparison. The Browns guaranteed $230 million to a quarterback with significant off-field baggage, a quarterback who hasn't performed, a quarterback who by many accounts hasn't fully embraced being part of the Cleveland community. Meanwhile, Wyatt Teller, who has been nothing but a model professional and community member, is being disrespected in a contract year. The situation also raises serious questions about Kevin Stefanski's future. He's supposedly a prime head coaching candidate if Cleveland moves on, according to league executives, but prime candidates don't create quarterback controversies. Prime candidates don't bench their best players for speaking honestly. Prime candidates don't preside over dysfunction and organizational chaos. If Stefanski loses this locker room over the Wyatt Teller situation, if players start questioning his leadership and decision-making, his supposedly bright future elsewhere might dim considerably. What happens next? Teller is reportedly out for the Tennessee Titans game with this mysterious calf injury. Does he come back? Does he play again this season? Or has the relationship deteriorated beyond repair? And if Teller does return, what's the atmosphere going to be like? Can he trust the coaching staff? Can he believe anything they say? Those are legitimate questions with real consequences. For Shedeur Sanders, this situation has to be concerning. If the organization is willing to bench players who support him, what does that say about his standing? If they're not giving him proper practice reps, if they're not surrounding him with the best possible protection, if they're creating chaos on the offensive line, how is he supposed to succeed? The kid is being set up to fail, and that's not speculation. That's increasingly obvious reality. The Cleveland Browns have reached a crossroads. They can acknowledge this mistake, make it right with Teller, commit fully to developing Sanders, and try to salvage something from this lost season, or they can double down, stick with this destructive path, and continue the cycle of dysfunction that has defined this franchise for over a decade. Based on their track record, which direction do you think they'll choose? Cleveland deserves better. The fans who show up every Sunday despite endless disappointment deserve better. Wyatt Teller deserves better. Shedeur Sanders deserves better. At some point, the organization needs to look in the mirror and ask hard questions about their values, their decision-making, and their future. Because right now, from the outside looking in, this looks like organizational malpractice of the highest order. The Wyatt Teller benching isn't just about one player or one game. It's a symptom of deeper problems. It's evidence of a franchise that still hasn't learned from decades of mistakes. It's proof that despite new regimes and new promises, the Browns remain fundamentally broken. And until they fix their culture, until they start valuing the right things and making decisions based on football logic rather than petty revenge or misguided strategy, they'll continue to be the laughing stock of the NFL.
It's just not hard. It's not hard to treat people right. And when you treat the wrong people right and you treat the right people wrong, you can just blow it all the way at your ass.
That quote sums it up perfectly. The Browns have this backwards. They've had it backwards for years. And until they figure out how to treat their players with respect, dignity, and basic human decency, they'll keep finding new and creative ways to disappoint everyone who believes in them. This is the Cleveland Browns in 2024. Same old story, different chapter. The faces change, the names change, but the dysfunction remains constant. Wyatt Teller is just the latest casualty in an organization that seems determined to self-destruct no matter who's in charge. The question isn't whether they'll learn from this mistake. The question is how much more damage they'll do before the season mercifully ends.